Hi friends, it's Mari here for Honeybee Stamps. I'm going to be creating this A2 size card that you can see here on the screen. I'm going to be using a combination of this Patchwork Pumpkins stamp set, the coordinating stencil, and the coordinating dies to create this really cute card. You can see that there's all kinds of really fun images in this set to create some really cool different elements for your pumpkin. This stencil is such a game changer when it comes to coloring. If you're not a lover of coloring, stenciling is the way to go. It's so quick and easy. And then of course the coordinating die just makes creating this card and many different types of cards with this set super easy. I'm going to be using a combination of different inks from PinkFresh Studio, and of course I'm going to be using my Honeybee blending brushes. I'm working on my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station here, and you can see that I've just got my white cardstock here on my mat just held down with these magnets, and I will try to remember to link up to the colors of the PinkFresh inks in the description box below. But really you could do this with any inks that you have in your stash. You can color your pumpkin whatever colors you like. I like to start with the lightest color in the set of colors that I'm using and then go darker from there. So there you can just see that I'm using three different colors or shades of the same color to create a little bit of depth and dimension with this stencil for my pumpkin here. So I'm just adding a little bit of shading around the edges, keeping the center a little bit lighter, and I am going to be doing some heat embossing over top of this. So the ink blending isn't super crucial. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I did just want a little bit of a nice variation in the light and darks in those oranges. Now I'm going to go to the leaves next. I did actually stencil in the flower part of this stencil set, but I didn't really like it. So I'm going to show you another color combination instead of sharing the color combo that I used for the first go on that flower. But I really love this leaf. I think it's really pretty. It started off with a really light green and then blend into a really deep teal color, which is really super pretty. Just going in with that darkest color around the edges. And I love how there's just this ability to layer all the details onto these images with these stencils and all of the different layers of the stencil for each one of these different bits here. So you can see the small flower with the little stem. You can actually create lots of really nice detail with that as well. And then of course you can use the stamp in combination with this, which you will see me do a little bit later in the video here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of detail with a bit of orange, just kind of around the edges. And the really great thing about the Honeybee blending brushes is they come in a bunch of different sizes, so that you've got these small ones. There's actually even a teeny tiny one, even smaller than this one here, that is really great for the smallest detail. So make sure you check those out. I will be sure to link up these brushes in the description box below. I love the Honeybee blending brushes. They're my favorite blending brushes for sure. Now there you can see the second flower that I did and all of the different little shading details. I used the same colors for that second, the large flower, as I did with the teeny tiny flower. Now the really cool thing about this stamp set is you can layer all these different textures on top of your stenciled image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool here just to make sure that my embossing ink is only going to stick to where I want it to stick. So here you can just see that I'm going to go ahead and ink up those stamps, and then I'll go ahead and spread my embossing powder over top. This is just a really nice gold, and I'll melt that, and you can just see the beautiful texture and shine that adds to this pumpkin. And you could do this with any different color of ink. You wouldn't have to heat emboss it. I just thought this was really fun. And you can just see how I'm adding in the layers. It's nice to add that center section before you add the layers next to it. So I did the outermost layers first for the stamping, and then the center, and then the two sides beside the center. And you can just see how gorgeous that is. Now I'm actually going to stamp over top of all of my other images as well. So I'm going to heat emboss the flower with that same gold ink. And I'm going to heat emboss all of the other images there for my project as well. So I just went ahead and stamped that embossing ink over top of the image, added the embossing powder, melted it, and you can just see how pretty that is. And I did that for the leaves as well in that small flower. And now I've got the dies taped on there with some low tack tape, and I'll set those die cuts aside. This is the Autumn Splendor A2 cover plate. This is beautiful. It's just so fun to create a background with this. I've actually die cut that out 4 times because I want it to be really dimensional, and I'm going to glue all of those different layers together, and that's going to be the background for my pumpkin. So I'm going to glue those all together, and then I'm going to glue them onto my A2 card base. And that'll be the base for my little scene here with my pumpkin. Now I'm using the Bitty Buzzwords Fall dies to create the sentiment for my project today. So I die cut out the detailed word grateful, and then I die cut out the background for that in some teal cardstock, and I added a little bit of that really pretty Tide Pool ink to that teal cardstock just to give it a little bit of that same color that's on the ink blending on those leaves. And now I'm just going to glue that white Scripty Grateful over top of the base. And again, that's the Bitty Buzzwords Fall dies, which are really super great for creating a sentiment for your card. Now I'm going to pop up my pumpkin on some foam squares and adhere that onto my card, and I'm just going to start to create my little pumpkin scene here with the different die cut pieces. So I'm adding each one of those little pieces to my card with some foam adhesive, and here you can just see that leaf is just going to fit in behind there. Now I am going to be using my honeybee tweezers to help me add these things onto my card, just for placement. And I'm also adding a little bit of gold pigment ink to the edges of some of the little pieces here and there. I didn't stamp anything on this stem. There's no detailed stamp for that. So I just took my ink dauber and added a little bit of gold ink to the edges. Now I'm just kind of messing around with placement here. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to place everything. And what I ended up doing is ink blending more of the leaves and flowers to add onto my card. I just felt like it was kind of a little bit off balanced. I didn't really like how it was looking, and I felt like it needed just a little bit more detail. So super easy to do. I just went ahead and did more ink blending in exactly the same way that you saw me do that already, and created just more of the little pieces. And I did pop up that word grateful, as you can see here, on some foam adhesive, and I added that on. And again, I don't commit to leaving this little leaf and flower up at the top. You'll see that gets moved, but you know, I just wanted to try it. And that's the fun thing about making a card. It's your project. You can make it however you want, and it's your designs. You can design it however you want. And I was just having fun moving things around and just kind of trying to decide what looked balanced. I'm also going to be using the Halloween Harvest gems from the Autumn Splendor release. These are really pretty. I love them. I just love how they've just got those really nice, deep, kind of autumn looking tones. And I'm going to put 3 up in that corner there, and then 2 down by the largest yellow flower. Again, I am going to move things around slightly for the final reveal of this design, but I just put these here for at this point. Now I'm going to add some white splatters. So I just put my card into my splat box, and I watered down some white paint and just using a fan brush to splatter that on. And that just adds some nice a little bit of texture and detail. It just kind of adds just that little extra bit of zhuzh to your card. I love how that looks. So here I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking, I don't know, it needs something else. And then I am going to, at this point, add an A2 thin frame to the card, which I feel like really adds a nice bit of detail. And that's just some teal cardstock that I used from my stash. And there you can see how I die cut out some extra pieces to add over to the right. And I've also got that frame, and I just love the balance and how everything's looking now. I also wanted to add a little bit of gold stickles to the center of the 2 large flowers, and that will finish off my card. So I have linked up to everything I used in this project today in the description box below, so check that out. Thanks for stopping by today, my friends, and I will see you soon. Have an amazing day, and bye-bye.